My parents were always paranoid, always issuing strange, cryptic warnings that I'd grown used to brushing off as nonsense. "Don't stare at your reflection too long," Mom would say, her eyes darting nervously toward the mirror in the hallway. "And if you hear someone call your name when you're alone," Dad added more than once, his tone grim, "don't answer. Just leave." At the time, it felt ridiculous. What could a reflection possibly do to me? And why would I ever leave my house because I heard my name? It was their way of keeping me scared, I thought, a quirky family superstition to keep a kid obedient. I didn't think about their warnings again until I moved into my first apartment. It was nothing special, just a small, dimly lit place in the city. The bathroom had an old mirror above the sink, its edges tarnished, but it was functional. That first night while brushing my teeth, I noticed something strange. Out of the corner of my eye, my reflection seemed off. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it felt like it moved a split second after I did. I stopped and stared at the mirror, waiting for something to happen. My reflection stared back, perfectly in sync. I laughed it off, blaming exhaustion. But things only got stranger. Over the next few weeks, I started feeling like I was being watched. Not just watched, but studied. It was subtle at first. I'd catch glimpses of movement in the mirrors, even when I was completely still. Sometimes it felt like my reflection's eyes lingered on me for a beat too long, like it was memorizing me. Then there were the whispers. They were faint at first, soft murmurs I couldn't quite make out. I convinced myself it was just the neighbors through the walls, even though the sound was always inside my apartment, always near a mirror. One night, unable to sleep, I dug through an old box of family photos I'd brought from home. Found a picture of my parents from years ago, sitting on the couch in our old house. But something about the photo chilled me. Behind them, in the reflection of a window, I saw two shadowy figures. They looked just like my parents, but not quite. Their faces were distorted, their smiles twisted into something cruel. The whisper started again. "Jonah!" My head snapped up, my heart pounding. The voice came from the hallway. My mom's voice. "Jonah!" It came again, louder this time. It didn't make sense. She was hundreds of miles away. Slowly, I stood and stepped into the hallway. That's when I saw it. The mirror near the door was shimmering faintly, the glass rippling like water. Then my reflection stepped forward, except I wasn't moving. It smiled at me, its lips stretching too wide, too sharp. My knees nearly buckled as I stumbled back. "Why didn't you listen?" it said, its voice hollow, distorted. "What the hell is this?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. The reflection pressed its hands against the inside of the glass, its grin twisting into something feral. "We warned them," it hissed. "We warned you." I didn't understand. My parents? Their warnings? None of this made sense. Before I could move, the reflection began pushing through the surface of the mirror, its body bending and twisting unnaturally. Its eyes were empty voids, pulling the light from the room. I turned and ran, but the air grew cold, heavy like thick hands gripping my chest. I didn't make it far before tendrils of shadow shot out from the mirror, wrapping around me and dragging me back. I screamed, clawing at the floor, but it was no use. The last thing I saw before the shadows pulled me into the mirror was my reflection, standing in the hallway, perfectly still, perfectly composed. It smiled softly, tilting its head in mock sympathy. "Now it's your turn," it whispered. The next morning, my apartment was silent. The mirrors were pristine, their surfaces unbroken. If anyone looked, they'd see me standing there, my reflection staring back, smiling faintly. But it wasn't me, and now I'm trapped on the other side, screaming into the void while my reflection wears my life like a mask.